Hi, today I thought I could talk about, I've been thinking a little bit today as I was walking about like the chapters of our life and like whether our chapters are fate or their destiny. And the line that kind of came to me as I was thinking about this is we choose our destiny, which creates our fate. And some things we experience will be predetermined, and sometimes we'll be at a certain level of consciousness, entering in a new chapter that's going to determine what those relationships we have with people in that chapter of our life, or what kind of career choices we're going to make in that chapter, just because of of our past and how much healing work we've done kind of then creates the level of consciousness we're at that then will kind of narrow in on the certain choices we're going to make in that chapter of our life. And so some of it is like our past experiences have brought us into a certain level of alignment that will determine kind of the spectrum of what we're going to choose in as we're entering a new chapter of our life. And then part of it is kind of left up to us. And no matter what rhythm we are going through in life, you can always change your rhythm. And if we feel like we're stuck in a rut or we're kind of stuck making the same choices or meeting the same types of people, like there is always a solution to explore to in order to, there's always a solution or in order to meet different people or a solution to help move us into an area of growth or change that doesn't feel accessible where we are at in this moment. And oftentimes the only way we're going to get to the growth and change we secretly desire but have no clue how to move towards is just to take the first step. And it's something I've really learned in my life is like I used to be terrified of public speaking and I didn't really know how to get over my fear of public speaking. And I kind of I ended up, you know, kind of like serendipitously, like I ended up becoming a yoga teacher because I didn't make the baseball team when I was in high school. And so my mom suggested I do a yoga teacher training instead to fill up that time. And was terrified to go up and speak in front of people. But what I learned is the more I did it, the less and less afraid I got of speaking in front of people, and the more comfortable and confident I became. And even like for me, when I reclaimed my power of public speaking, like I just became more comfortable and confident in general as a person. Because if you can go up and be in front of 20 people and share who you are, it becomes a lot easier to share who you are when you're in front of one person or where you're in front of a person that makes you a little nervous because they're really cool or you're attracted to them or whatever it is. And so what I learned is like whatever direction we want to move towards, oftentimes, if we are just willing to take the step and then continue taking a step on the path we would hope one day could lead to like to a career or to a certain level of healing or to just being more confident and comfortable in front of others, right? If you just continue moving in that direction of, I want, like for me, I want to be a good public speaker. So that means I'm going to have to be public speak, even though it makes me want to squirm and I hate doing it, right? And I only hated doing it because of how afraid I got. But the more I did it, the less afraid I became. And that's like a great lesson for like whatever we're struggling with in life. If there's something that we really makes us afraid or we don't want to have a conversation with a friend or a partner because we go, this conversation would be terrifying and I don't want to disappoint this person, right? The only way you're going to get over the fear of disappointing others is to start disappointing others in a way that's healthy and aligned, that is actually honoring what you need in those relationships through the conversation you're going to have with them. And so for me, like what I've really learned is like we get to choose like who we become based on our choices. I even heard someone like teach this like a couple weeks ago, and I think there's some truth in it of like that your choices, your habits, a year ago, like, are kind of what has created the experience you're having in the moment you are in. And while that's a little bit of a generalization and there's a little bit more that goes into that, and sure our habits a year ago could have created the moment we're in, but it like also like we could have become a lot different from who we were a year ago. And so it's not necessarily ever our fault for why we're experiencing what we're experiencing, right? When we say it's our fault for why our life is the way it is, it's kind of saying that life is wrong, but life is never wrong. Life is just giving you the pressure and the choices, the pressure and the problems and the challenges you need for you to become the person life wants you to see you grow up as, right? Like a tomato raised in like a really safe, secure environment, like in a home, is not going to have the same strong stem as a tomato that grew up outside in the elements. But we can think about that in our life. Like if we are really struggling in an area of our life, what if it's life trying to make us more strong and more patient and more calm in the eye of the storm, so that way when we are given more power or we're given the relationships we really deep down desire, we're not going to be super reactive, impulsive, and be a hard person to be around for that person or for the people we are going to actually end up helping serve as a healer, or for the music we're going to end up creating in our life, or whatever our passion is and whatever we really think is what we'll leave behind when we die or when we transition on. And so recognizing if I'm facing hardships and challenges, it's not my fault, but the question is, in what ways can I take responsibility for my actions and create and working to create positive solutions for the challenges I'm facing, rather than wallowing in I'm powerless to these problems and I'm never going to find my way out of it, because that perspective is going to keep you in hardship and challenge longer when you listen to those voices and don't take positive action steps forward. And that really is how our destiny is created, is we are given certain problems and challenges, and how long we rest in victimhood, it's our fault, things are never going to get better, and we listen to those voices, and the voices prevent us from taking positive action steps to resolving the problems we're facing. Right? If I had wallowed in I'm not a good public speaker, so that way then I can't be a yoga teacher, and I had listened to that voice, right? I never would have got beyond my fear of public speaking, probably never would have started a YouTube channel, would have never started doing open mics and channeling for people at open mics. Right. And I would have, and years later, I would still be terrified of public speaking. But because I was willing to take the path of, I want to be a yoga teacher, and even though this is scary, I'm going to continue to move forward in doing it, even if my yoga classes aren't good starting out, because I know I'll only get better as I continue to do it, was when all of a sudden I'm now a great yoga teacher and my fear of public speaking has gone, is pretty much washed away. And so recognizing that our hardships and challenges are actually gifts to help us grow. And right, even if we went through an experience of losing our voice, and for me, I used to be really confident public speaking in middle school, and then high school hit, and like a little bit, I've talked about in other experiences, I've talked about in other videos, high school really wasn't the easiest experience for me. In a lot of ways, I lost my voice and I lost my confidence and I lost my self-esteem. But the journey of reclaiming all of that has actually allowed me to be more comfortable and confident than if I had never lost my self-esteem or my voice in the first place, or had never become fear of public speaking. Right now, when I go up and I do open mics, I'm okay with embarrassing myself a little bit, because nothing really that I could say that maybe maybe that I'm not sure if it's going to land right or not is going to be more embarrassing than when I used to go up and public speak in high school and would like shake and barely get any words out. And so recognizing that's where the gifts lies, is when we overcome the hardships and challenges, we actually become a better version of ourselves than if we had never faced the hardship and challenge in the first place, and we actually have more bravery and courage from having getting over the hump of like afraid of public speaking than if we had never developed a fear for public speaking in the first place. And so recognizing that no matter what is happening in my life, the more I take responsibility for it and take action steps that would be that maybe I don't even have the bravery and courage to make, but I'm going to choose it anyways, is when we actually find our way out of the hardships and challenges in the most efficient way. And it's when life stops becoming completely overwhelming hardships and challenges that we're powerless to face, and we start to remember our power by finding solutions in our life, no matter how scary or hard they seem to our ego, because our ego is only scared of trying to find a solution in our life for how long we've avoided becoming the version of ourselves that could find solutions in our life. And sure, some hardships and challenges are going to take a long time for us to overcome. And some, sometimes we are given an illness that at the end of the day, it's not even meant for us to overcome, but it's life helping evolve our soul by going through that illness, and maybe we die at the end of that illness, but in the next lifetime, we have a greater respect for our health. We have a greater appreciation for life, for going through the lifetime where no matter what we tried, we weren't able to heal the thing we wanted to heal. But it's actually the going through that when your soul gets reincarnated next time around, that gives you the greater gratitude and appreciation for life, that actually helps amplify your experience in your next life. And so recognizing that nothing really is a curse, things only become a curse by how our ego sees them. And when we're not willing to try and work to find solutions towards the experiences we're having, and not taking mature responsibility for what we're going through, and to bring it back to destiny, like destiny is a culmination of who we are and what we've already overcome. And it's then how mature and responsible are we with our relationships? Are we with connecting with others? And are we with mature and responsible? Are we towards building the life we actually want to live? And so recognizing, that our destiny is what we experience, and the hardships and challenges are even the hardships and challenges we experience a lot of times to become the person we need to become. And if we're avoiding stepping into the powerful version of ourselves and continuing to listen to our powerlessness, is when life is only going to give us more hardships and challenges to really force us to be brave and to move into the powerful person that can take can be mature and take responsibility for their actions going forward, and starts to say, if I'm experiencing something, right, I have the power to change it, because the change that I desire is the change that I am. And when I'm willing to step into the power of creating positive change, is when I start to find my way through solutions in my life a lot easier. And you can change whatever rhythm you are in life. And a great question to ask ourselves is, if I'm only meeting people that don't really resonate with me, like where am I looking to meet these people, right? If I'm like, God, I keep on finding shitty boyfriends or shitty friends, like, am I only trying to go meet people at bars, right? Where people are generally consuming something that's toxic, and typically probably take a little less good care of themselves than if we were trying to meet people at the yoga class we were taking, or going to do breathwork ceremonies, or trying to connect with people in a more healthy environment. And so recognizing that whatever I'm experiencing, I might just need to change how I'm relating to life, or change where I'm looking to meet people, That's part of it. And the other part of it is oftentimes how we feel, right, then determines how we show up in our relationships. And if we don't feel good because we're not taking very good care of ourselves, right, that might be something to look at. And even how are we relating to our feelings? And what you realize is the more you express your feelings in art in healthy ways is actually what's going to make you less reactive, less impulsive, and where feelings are going to unconsciously take you over a lot less. And when you express yourself, one, you'll feel a little bit more alive. You'll feel a little bit more like enjoy. You'll feel more like yourself, right? Because humans are like creative, we are expressive. And when we are aligning ourselves with that, we are embracing more of our humanness that actually makes us so beautiful and special, right? Humans have a deep level of emotion that not every other life form, like on other planet, other alien species, necessarily have. And so, what makes us beautifully human is our expression. And oftentimes, when we can take more time to create art, when we're expressing our creativity, then actually helps us, one, change our baseline operating system of how we're flowing in the rhythm, because the more we're expressing the rhythms of our being, the more we actually are able to choose what kind of rhythms we would like to experience life in, which that sounds a little bit out there or a little bit maybe like airy, I understand. But the truth is, oftentimes the ruptures we have in relationships, oftentimes the people we attract in friendship or in romantic relationships often have a similar relationship with their feelings, a similar relationship with their mind, or a similar relationship to how well they care for themselves or how well they love themselves. Or even when we're going into interviews or trying to get a new job, right? How you feel and how you show up in that interview is going to influence what kind of jobs you get. And so if you can start to change how you're feeling on the inside and start to change how you relate to your feelings by expressing them more often, you are actually changing who you are. You're creating more spaciousness, more peace within you, and you're expressing greater creativity, which actually helps you be more creative and finding positive solutions in your life. And that has been something that I'm just learning recently. Is like I've been kind of on a journey where I was hyper focused on spirituality, and a lot of teachers will teach, oh, if you do this meditation or visualization or connect with this archangel, it will change your life. Or if you like, even harmonize yourself to greater angelic energy or clear out your lower chakras, like your life will change. And while there is truth in that, that isn't the full truth. The full truth is heaven on earth, and the maturity and responsibility that you take towards your life, right, is coupled with who you are. And you can change some of who you are through visualizations and meditation. But if you're overdoing visualizations and meditation, it's actually going to dysregulate your nervous system. And you're going to find yourself showing up as lesser, more reactive versions of yourselves in relationships or in life, or you'll be more nervous and you won't be able to regulate in a job interview. These are like pretty much all things I've experienced. Because you're not finding enough balance with earth and taking maturity and responsibility in your life. And it doesn't matter how many visualizations or how hard you meditate, right? You're never going to make new friends if you don't leave your apartment. And that's something, I've experienced as well. Or you're never going to get a job through your meditation practice if you're not sending out enough job applications and not following up with the hiring manager, or going to drop off your resume at the business you're trying to work at and taking the action steps you would need to take to actually allow the universe to bring you that job. And sure, at some point we might reach a state where we could just say like the word gold, and like manifest a bar of gold. But I'm someone who's spent like 4 to 6 hours of like, for a lot, like probably like for 2 years ish, like almost like, a lot of time, like just focus on harmonizing myself to spiritual energies and to listening to teachers. And while that does give me like a little bit more of a knowledge base to pull from when I'm teaching and channeling from, right, it didn't really actually create the positive change in my life. And while it did change who I was a little, I've realized when I've over focused on spirituality and not given my body enough time to receive those energies is when I've shown up a little bit more dysregulated or reactive or not my best self in interacting with others or interacting or in job interviews or whatever I've been trying to put my steps forward towards. And so recognizing that it's all about balance. And if I'm not connecting to aligning my body and heavenly energies, if I'm only focused on that and never taking positive steps forward, right, I'm now using my meditation practice as an avoidance from life and an avoidance from humanness. And it would actually be finding balance in how much I express myself, find balance by taking a break from meditation to make sure I'm getting the things done I need to get done in my day, even if that's cleaning my apartment or doing laundry, or making sure that I'm cooking good meals for my body, or making sure that I'm taking care of whatever I need to take care of, as a way of, when I do that, I'm giving my body time to receive the heavenly energy. And your body does need time to digest heavenly energy, just like doing a workout, right? If you work out nonstop and never give your body a break, you're just going to end up breaking down your body. And with light, while light, is a little bit lighter and a little bit going to have a little bit less of a negative impact probably than working out, it will still throw you off, and it still will bring up lesser versions of yourself in your life if you're meditating or visualizing or praying, overdoing it, like over, probably over 4 hours a day. If you're doing it too much, it's actually going to make you a worse version of yourself rather than a better version of yourself. And that's something I've only learned by going through the experience of overdoing it for a really long time, and then wondering why I'm not finding the solutions in my life of like making more friends, or like or getting a better job, right? When I wasn't really taking action steps towards those things, and kind of just over focusing on meditating and not really going outside of my apartment very much, or actually sending out enough job applications and doing the proper follow-up steps. I needed to actually get a different job. And I mean, right now I'm looking for a job, but even in past versions of my life, like that was also a theme as well. And so recognizing that it's more about, in meditation, am I taking the energy I'm feeling in this meditation and bringing it into my life, rather than I'm so focused on this energy and how good this feels in my body, and I'm actually overdoing it and avoiding taking steps in my life. Right? And any type of meditation or visualization should help us be more direct, more focused, more disciplined in our life, and more willing to be brave and courageous in taking action steps forward. And it is important, to line yourself in heavenly energy. I'm still someone that do visualizations every day. I'm still someone that prays pretty much every day, sets positive intentions in my day, but I make sure I give space to get things done in my life, and that I'm giving space to digest those experiences. And you start to be able to feel, okay, if I did another visualization, I kind of get blasted off into the moon, and you start to be able to listen to your body and realize, okay, like how much can my body handle today? And some days might even be different based on the practices we did yesterday, or how much light is hitting the planet, and what's going on with solar flares. And like there's been some days where my nervous system has just felt like barely able to handle any type of spiritual practice. And it wasn't even that I did a lot of spiritual practice the days before, but I think it was just that the planet, the Earth, was receiving a lot of light at that time. And so that's something to be aware of. Like when maybe around equinoxes and around, like different astrological events like Lionsgate, it's something to be a little bit more mindful of is there's probably already a fair amount of light that the earth is receiving during that time, and it might even be beneficial sometimes for me to scale down my practice a little during those times so that I'm still being mindful of how much light I'm taking in. And so, I really just would like to hit home is like, can we balance being who, like, becoming a good version of ourselves through our spiritual practice, but also finding balance in that with I'm still making time to express how I feel, or even if it was just like I still make time to dance, like, or I still make time to do some type of fun movement, like go play soccer or something like that. Finding a little balance in our life with our spiritual practice is beautiful, and it will actually help us embody more of the spiritual energy easier than if we were only focused on meditating and visualization. And like something that is probably talked about a little bit less is that your light that light is that the more grounded you are, right? The more grounded you are, that actually the higher you're able to touch into elevated states, and the easier you are able to embody more light. It's kind of like the tree, like a tree, the stronger roots that tree has, it means the longer that tree stem can grow and the higher it can reach up into the sky. But that's like a metaphor for ourselves. And the more we actually embrace our humanness, embrace our mature responsibility in tackling life, is actually then when we go into our spiritual practices, they're a lot deeper because we've built the strong roots. We've built strong connection to our body and to our humanness that actually creates the safety for us to reach into higher and higher states. And that is something that's not really talked a lot about spirituality, right? A lot of people idealize the monk mentality, but the monk mentality is an in and out of balance practice that is going to leave you, right, really ungrounded, right? And if the modern monk mentality would be, I make sure to play, to have fun, I make sure to express my feelings, to really enjoy being a human, and then I take maybe like 30 minutes or an hour in the morning or at night, and I pray a little in my day as I go to do things that actually would help me become so much better of a person and embody so much more light than if I was meditating 4 to 6 hours a day, which is that's an interesting perspective, but it's actually the truth. And it's why a lot of times we meet spiritual beings who are not nice, who are maybe emotionally reactive, or when we're talking to them, they're not really letting us get any words in, and they're just kind of forcing their ideas onto us, right? Because that's, I'm all in the spiritual and I haven't learned how to embrace being a human, or actually learn how to like, and the more we embrace our humanness is when we're actually better at connecting with other humans. And what you realize about the tree analogy is if I have a bunch of other trees interlapping their roots with my roots, I'm going to even be able to climb higher because it will be the weight of the entire root system of multiple trees helping hold me down and keep me in my life to then be able to touch into higher levels of states. And so our relationships are really important actually to evolve as a modern spiritual person. And we didn't come to help the earth by avoiding our life and just meditating. We came to bring our meditation energy to the people we're connected to and help them remember God is not someone that judges you at the end of life. God is not someone that says you can't have sex until you get married, or that you can't drink and do drugs. While some of that stuff might not be good for you, like God doesn't judge you for doing that. God says explore what you need to explore and I'll love you anyways. And really, God is within every being, and every being is God, and every being really is you, right? Just with a different soul, a different body, different past experiences. But the life is not separate lives bringing to life every person on this planet. It is one life bringing to life every person on this planet, every animal, every tree. And it's why we're incredibly kind and respectful to others no matter how they're treating us, because we recognize in a different lifetime they're us. In a different lifetime, you're the homeless person on the street. And it's like, how many more people would stop and talk to that homeless person or give that homeless person a little bit of money, right? Even if they were to buy drugs with it, it's like every drug use is one closer drug use of getting sick of taking that drug and desiring sobriety. And people don't think about it like that. And recognizing that what actually stops people from craving drugs, whether we're that person or it's someone in our life, is human connection. And like there's been studies where they gave a rat a cage with water and cocaine water, and that rat used cocaine water until it died. And then they did the same study with a bunch of rats in like a little rat paradise, and there was water and cocaine water, and the rats would use the cocaine water, but they wouldn't even use it addictively. They would try it and move on. And so recognizing that if we really want to see the mental health crisis be healed on this planet, we have to work to bring connection and vulnerability and trust in our relationships more, and form deep human connections that actually is going to help us evolve spiritually. And it's even going to help those people around us, because we're going to be taking our spiritual energy and sharing it with more people and helping them remember the value of spirituality. And really, everyone around you is you, just in a different body with a different soul with different past experiences. And so really the greatest type of evolution is service and helping others. And it isn't the meditation, and it isn't visualization. And you're meditating and visualizing all day, you're not really going to help anyone other than yourself a little bit. But if you overdo it, it even stops being helpful for you. And so, what I would like to highlight is that your greatest evolution is helping and serving others. Your spiritual practices should just be little moments to help recalibrate yourself, an hour at the most of meditating, at the most. That's like the max. In one session. And you could do like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, and you can listen to your body. And you're like, well, Luke, maybe I can receive 2 hours and a half a day. Fine, but whatever it is, however you end up, how much you end up doing, it's like, how deeply can you love the people around you? How deeply can you take the bliss, the happiness, the joy you're feeling in your meditation, and then go out and share that with others? Because that's actually why we came to the planet. We didn't come to avoid life and to sit in meditation and prayer all day. We came to be the best freaking humans that are alive, and to be alive, and and express life, and to live life, and to go through experiences and build connections and build relationships with others, and not avoid life and think we're helping others when we're really just being self-absorbed and actually feeding our self-absorption by overdoing our spiritual practice. And that is something that is a journey I've learned by experience. That is not And that is the only reason why I can talk about it, because I've overdone spiritual practice for years. In the last couple of months, and especially with YouTube, I started to realize, oh, if I actually want to be a clear and concise channel and have a regulated nervous system when I'm on YouTube, right, I actually have to bring into balance my spiritual practice. And it's been really eye-opening to start to see, oh, the things I wanted to change only started to change when I brought into balance my spiritual practice and started taking greater action steps in my life. And when we learn that, and when we let go of our obsession and absorption for meditation or visualizations, is when we actually start to see how we can help others, and we actually become a lot more clear in what the words we need to say, or what's the advice we need to give in order to help the person we're communicating with right? And so any type of intuitive abilities or psychic abilities actually are honed by us embracing our humanness. And if we already have a spiritual practice, that's even if it's just like 30 minutes a day, it's probably enough to to it's probably enough, it's good to push ourselves a little too. I'm not going to say don't push yourself. And I still, push myself, just I don't overdo it so much. And I find little ways of like, of working to still when, I'm praying on the train and it's starting to feel a little uncomfortable in my third eye. Sometimes I lean into that. And so but the question is like, right, when we push ourselves, we don't have to push ourselves every single day. And even someone that's training to be like a marathon runner or ultra marathon runner, right, a lot of their workouts are actually chill, relaxed workouts. And they've like in studies, they've actually found that athletes often perform better when they're not pushing themselves to the max every workout, but are pushing themselves into the max like every fifth day or something like that. And I would really say it's kind of similar with our spiritual practice. And when we can orient towards helping others is when we're going to evolve a hell of a lot more and have way more love and compassion and way less self-absorption than when we're only trying to meditate and chanting and whatever practice we really love, and we're not doing anything to bring that energy and share with others, or taking time to help and serve others, or taking time just to be a human and to express our feelings, or to go play a sport, or pick up an instrument we really enjoy playing, because that is part of balance. And you're going to be a dysregulated little monster if you're only focused on consciousness and you're never taking time to express your feelings. And you're not going to create solutions in your life if you're never taking steps forward to actually address those solutions and working just as hard as you would in your meditation practice as you are in creating solutions in your life, or just as hard as maybe something you enjoy like working out as you are in trying to find a job and trying to address whatever, trying to make new friends, or trying to help our body heal, or whatever we're struggling with in this moment. And so serve others, do a little meditation, and you'll be on your way. And recognizing that our whatever phase we go through, it plays a purpose. And for me, even when I was self-absorbed in spirituality, it did give me a knowledge, and it did help me try out some of the ways that oftentimes people get lost in the spiritual path, and I experienced that, right? So then I could teach about it from the experience of, hey, you don't need to do that because I've done it. And so I hope this talk helped. I hope it brought some clarity, and I hope we have the power to create whatever change we want to create in our life. And it's just about continuing to take steps forward, even if we can't see the end of the path, even if we're not really sure what's the step after the step we've just taken. If you take the step, you will find your way. And if you continue to move forward, you will figure it out. And the more we can embrace creativity, oftentimes the easier we're going to find solutions for whatever we're struggling with. So I hope that helps. Thank you for listening. Bye.